Hello, and welcome to another episode of Scavenger Life. This is episode number 400 at scavengerlife.com.
Yeah, it takes us now about, so we do one a week, so that's 50 a year.
Weeks,
so it's like 2 years to do 100 episodes.
Yep.
So, yeah, that's a big milestone. Just a number.
400.
Okay, so in honor of 400 episodes, I thought we would do the most interesting thing in the world, and let's talk about taxes.
Oh my God.
No, so it's tax time.
Right.
I mean, I guess for some people, they're like, it's end of February. It's not tax time. It's not tax time until April.
Yo, tax time for us was last month.
Yeah, I think we're trying to be overachievers, but we do our taxes as soon as we can.
Like, the first week of January, we did it this year.
Right. We talked to our accountant, and we're like, we're going to be there right as soon as we can. Basically, February 1st is about as early as you can do it.
Yeah.
Because you got to wait for paperwork to come in.
Right.
But see, we do it for two reasons. Number one, our accountant gives us his undivided attention.
Right. He's not busy.
Because he's not busy at all. So he takes his time. He meets with us anytime we want.
Yep. Answers any questions we have.
We, in the past, have done it later, and it's very busy and there's less time. Number two, because we are self-employed and run a business, we want to know how much money we owe.
Right.
So we want to know now, so we have at least a couple of months to maybe save some money off if we have a bigger tax bill than we expected.
Now, just a caveat to that: if you are self-employed, you should be paying quarterly, so you either paid what you owed, or you're getting a refund, or you're paying a little bit more.
Right.
But when we're doing renovations, it's very hard to pay quarterly.
Yeah.
So that's why we were like, how much do we owe?
Right. And you're supposed to pay quarterly, and if you don't, there's a fine.
It's a very small fine.
It's a small fine, so they just want their money, but we needed the cash this year, so we had we had a pretty big tax bill, but we had saved up for it, and
we paid it.
Anyway. But I wanted to bring it up because someone on a forum came on and asked a good question. It's a woman in college.
Ah, yes.
And she has been selling on eBay while in college.
Right.
And she was like, I just lost some of my financial aid. So for the rest of the year, the school term, I have to pay for my food and all my expenses.
Oh, right. All that stuff, yeah.
School's paid for. So she has to ramp her store up. And she's like, this isn't really a hobby anymore. I'm going to be making some serious cash.
Hopefully she's making serious cash, yeah.
Yeah, how do I set myself up as a business?
Right.
And it's a really good question because I know we were the same way when we kind of went full-time eBay.
Yeah.
I didn't learn this in school.
No, me either.
The difference between being an employee and being self-employed. I mean,
and an LLC and a general partnership and a sole proprietorship. And we were just like, what?
Your parents were self-employed.
Yeah.
But they didn't really teach you any of this stuff.
No, I mean, I was only taught by being in their presence. It's not like my mom sat me down and was like, let me tell you about how I applied for a business license.
Right.
That didn't happen.
So I'm going to do a quick kind of how to think about doing your own business as far as taxes go. But just understand, we're just people on the internet. It's almost like you're talking to someone on a street corner. Don't take our word for it. I'm going to give you some real hazy general ideas, the way to approach it, and then you should go to someone that actually knows, like an accountant.
To clarify.
But at least maybe I can help you, give you some guidance and some terminology.
Yes.
Okay? So let's start from number one. When a person has a job, they're normally a W-2 employee.
And a W-2 in the United States means that's, I think, what you hand in with your information.
Yeah.
That's what a W-2 is.
I've always been a W-2 employee, and I didn't even know that's what it was. I would get a job, and they would make me sign some piece of paper.
Which is a W-2.
And that's a W-2 form.
Yeah.
And what that means is that I'm an employee. They can tell me what to do. They can tell me when to show up. They can tell me how to do the job.
Yep.
I'm a wage slave.
Right. Essentially. Okay, that's a little extreme.
That also means that taxes get taken out of my paycheck, every single paycheck.
Automatically.
Right. So, and that's your taxes, that's Social Security, that's a Medicare, And then at the end of a year, normally we often pay more than we're supposed to, and that's why we all get
a refund.
Yeah, for the most part.
Now, just to be clear, those taxes that are taken out, your employer is matching that with the state and the federal government.
Well, just to be very clear, it's the two that he matches or she will match. So
it's two of them.
It's Medicare and Social Security.
Yeah.
Already is 15.2%. And when you're a W-2 employee, the employer will pay for half of that. So it's kind of a good thing. So when you get a job and you're complaining about taxes, remember that your employer is actually paying 7.2 extra on top of that.
Right. It's not just what's taken out from you. They're paying for that too.
It's a benefit. Okay, but when you're self-employed,
right,
when you run your own business, no one's taking care of your taxes.
No.
So if you make $100 on eBay today, you get that full $100 into your account.
Right.
Nobody
took anything.
But you are liable to pay taxes on all of that. And so that means that you're liable for state taxes if you have state taxes at your state, the federal tax, self-employment taxes,
Social Security, and Medicare.
Right, and that's why people that pay quarterly taxes, so they don't get a surprise tax bill at the end of every a year. And I think that's just why. I don't know, if you're in the eBay forums, you'll see this. Some guy is selling on eBay, and he makes like $25,000. He gets that full amount.
Right.
He gets all $25,000.
Right.
And then when tax time comes, he's like upset that he has to pay, $4,000 or something. He's like, oh, I'm getting ripped off. Well, you haven't paid any taxes all year long.
Yeah. And it is painful.
Right. And so that's why it's a surprise, because they just didn't plan for it.
Yeah, exactly.
And like as Ryan had said, the real killer for self-employment is a 15.3%.
Right. So when we're just saying your employer matches you, as your own employer, aka self-employment, you pay all that.
Right. It can be a pretty hefty.
It can be a
amount,
lot,
and because that's on top of state taxes and your federal tax as well.
Right.
So,
but that's after expenses. So the thing about being self-employed is there are lots of things you can write off to bring your profit down.
And that's what I want to say.
Yeah.
The magic though of being self-employed are the expenses. Mm-hmm. Like that's really where I think it's important for everyone hearing this understands is that if you're going to run your own business, you have to figure out your expenses.
What is, as they say, deductible.
Right. Because, if you make like $100,000 on eBay, and if you don't expense anything, your bill could be like $20,000, $25,000, because according to the IRS,
you made that much.
That's your profit.
You spent nothing.
I mean, that's the other thing too. When you're self-employed and just selling on eBay, PayPal will send you that $10.99.
Right.
And it's not just what you sold on eBay; it's the shipping income too. Yep. So if someone pays $20 for an item and then they pay $10 to have it shipped, according to the IRS and PayPal,
you made all that money.
You made $30, even if that shipping got immediately spent. Right. It wasn't ever go through your pocket.
You have to tell the IRS through your taxes, I made $20 or $10 less because that was an expense.
That's why people, I don't know, I remember this too, and I wanted to think it was true. They're like, well, if you make under $20,000, PayPal doesn't tell the IRS, so you don't actually have to pay taxes on that. I mean,
now to be clear, the IRS expects you to claim whether you had a yard sale or not. Right. So you have to claim everything.
That's a real dangerous game. And if you're trying to play the game of, well, as long as the PayPal doesn't tell the IRS, then I won't claim it. You just got to be careful then as you get close to 20,000, because it's not just 20,000 in items that are sold. It's also in the shipping income.
Right.
So that could be 25% more.
Right.
So
it bumps it up.
If you sold $17,000 of stuff, you could have made another $5,000 of income,
shipping,
and that puts you over the 20,000. So, you got to be real careful of that. Anyway, taxes are taxes. We pay them. The benefits will come when we get older.
Yeah.
It's fine. I don't know why everyone's laughing. I think people say it's a boondoggle. That's fine. There's room for change, but these programs save people's lives. People depend on these things. It is what it is. We're not going to argue about if taxes are good or bad.
Yeah.
But it's the expenses, though. The American, the U.S. tax its system seems to me set up for people like us, who run our own businesses.
Right.
That's why you hear like billionaire President Donald Trump doesn't pay taxes for 20 years because he was able to expense and write off a loss on a real estate.
So that's where we break it down. Right. That's how it's possible for someone who owns a business.
Right.
To do that rather than an employee.
Right. And that's why you hear like Amazon, made like $20 billion or something.
Right.
But they didn't pay any taxes at all because they were able to like write off all this stuff. And because these businesses, they hire a lobbyist and they write all these really complicated rules. So good or bad, the idea is that any money that we as business owners spend on our business is a good thing for the economy.
Right.
So it's not
taxed.
A profit.
Right. It's not profit.
But whereas if you're just a W-2 employee and you spend money on your fuel to get to work or food to eat when you're at work, you don't get any
clothes
tax benefits.
To wear when you're at work, like none of that.
You can't expense that beyond the standard deduction.
There's a standard deduction. Man, the U.S. tax system, so many things.
That's really what we had to learn very quickly. And I remember that a year where we were like, oh no, we have to figure out how to do this.
Well, I remember the year because it was one of the first years that we were self-employed. Now we weren't, this was the year before we started eBay. And we actually made a lot more money than we ever had. And actually now looking back, I'm like, it wasn't that much money. Right. But back then, 12, 15 years ago, it was a lot. And I remember being like, I got to go through all my expenses for the whole year. And like my accountant was saying, well, what are your expenses that you can write off? I'm like, I don't even know what that means. What?
Yeah.
Did you drive your car to your, contract job or a conference you were working at? It's like, what? Yes.
So that's what we learned was what expenses we could do. We can expense all the postage we pay.
Yep.
We can expense the cost of any inventory that got sold that year.
Cost of goods sold.
We can expense its supplies to
shipping supplies, anything you buy.
You can expense the mileage on your car.
Right, when you go to business things. So there are people who have an app that like every time they go to the thrift store, they...
Post office, scavenging, any of that stuff. You can expense a camera, computer, phone that you buy to run your business.
That's equipment.
You can expense part of your home or at your office,
So you do the square footage of that.
And there's a lot of other expenses too that might be specific to you, and that's why getting in a accountant's good because he or she can really help you figure that stuff out.
Like here's a more complicated one. We built a storage building and it is purely for business. It's for all our businesses. And you can actually, it's called a depreciable expense. So you can actually expense that. They don't let you take the full amount that 1 year. They break it up over like 27 years or something, which seems like a lot, but you get that deduction every single year over time.
And plus this year, in the new tax bill that they passed, self-employed people and businesses get another 20% taken off their net income if they use a pass-through entity.
Right.
You just need to be something like a sole proprietorship.
Or a general partnership.
Or an LLC.
Right.
Or a C Corp or whatever. S Corp.
S Corp.
But But really, for anyone hearing us, you'll probably just be a sole proprietorship. And really, you don't really need to do anything to be that. It's almost like you're automatically that way, right?
So my question is, with the sole proprietorship, I guess I should Google this before we even are recording this, but do you have to file a separate tax form? Or are you just like, I'm a sole proprietor and it's just me, I don't have like a tax number?
This is where, don't listen to us, because I'm not exactly sure, and this is because we're not a CPA
accountant would tell you.
Right.
But I'm pretty sure a sole proprietorship is a pass-through.
But that's a really big deal, so
20%
if you do all of your expenses and then it says that you made $20,000,
right,
but you're doing that through a sole proprietorship, a pass-through, then you can get another 20% off. That's $4,000.
Yeah, that's a lot. It's very helpful.
And then you're only paying taxes on $16,000.
Right.
So, that's why it's important to be on top of this stuff.
Right.
So, look, I hope this isn't complicated, people. But this is what it is. I know some people love to do their own taxes, or they only want to do their own stuff.
Right.
I think I've never done it, but supposedly like those like computer
online,
programs, and they walk you through a series of questions that you
I've done that before, and I got audited, so I never did it again. So, obviously, I did it wrong.
And plus, you have to pay for those online services too.
Most of the time, yeah.
We just found a local accountant.
We love our local accountant.
Not H&R Block.
Yeah.
Where they just hire like temps, seasonal people.
Right.
This is like a man or a woman that has like a little
practice.
Yeah. And they do bookkeeping for local businesses, and they do taxes.
Payroll for people.
Right. And, it's someone you can sit down with, and they'll normally meet with you for free. And you got to see if you jive with that person, and you talk about your business. And if you feel comfortable, you hire them. And then they charge you just for the time that they spend. And it's going to be a lot more expensive if you don't want to do any work at all. And if you just want to dump like boxes,
paper, receipts,
like here's a whole box of paper, and they have to figure it all out.
That's going to be a lot of money. But
what we do is we go to GoDaddy Bookkeeping. We keep
So I do the bookkeeping on the first of every month. And what I do at the end of the year is I have a spreadsheet breakdown, which sometimes I have to explain a few times to them because they're like, there's so much information. But I just break down all our expenses and everything we paid and everything we made. And so then they just have to enter that into the tax forms. And what I love about having an accountant as well is as we're, expanding our businesses, as we've talked about, and we have different businesses, we always ask him, like, are we still doing this correctly? Is there anything else we can do that we can look for that's like going to help us, cut down on our tax bill, basically? And he's usually like,
what else can we expense?
What else can we expense?
What can we expense?
Or am I expensing this properly?
Right.
This thing's depreciable, but it was a repair and not an improvement. Like he helps you like kind of, make sure you're doing it correctly, which is so helpful.
So I just only wanted to bring that up for anyone who is, moving from being a hobby to a seller, but like a full-time.
Full-time, or
if you're making, if you're making over $20,000,
that's almost
you're making more than what people make who work at McDonald's, full-time.
Right.
So it's a real job. It's real income. So I would just say go to a local accountant, ask for like a free consultation, and see if you like that person, and that person will help you, create your business entity the way it needs to get set up.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's just better to do it way ahead of time than like freak out April 1st when you have 2 weeks to figure it all out, and you're like, And also I feel like a CPA can kind of help you if you're doing your own bookkeeping, which you should, just help you figure out what are you deducting and what category is it, and how to think about it every month. Oh, I did this. It's under this category, this category, this category. It's mileage, it's food, while I was traveling, it was this, Yeah. And once we figured it all out and have like a system, it's relatively easy now because we know the expenses and they just go into the buckets.
It also makes me feel better about spending money because then I'm like, you still spend the money, but you're like, it's a tax write-off. So that's going to help me in the long run, just like cut my cut my profit down.
Or I've got to buy anyway, so it's good I'm not paying taxes on this thing.
Right, I'm just like, it helps me as a frugal person. Like, okay, I can buy, the nicer packing tape or whatever, Yep.
Okay, so that's our public service announcement.
At tax time, yeah, very good.
Okay, let's talk about eBay for this week. Okay. We went to an auction.
We did, finally.
I was very excited to go to.
We spent the most time we've ever spent at an auction.
Right. It started at 10 o'clock.
We got there at 9.
So I showed up there an hour early to check out everything. And there was something that we wanted, but it wasn't till the very end. So we stayed till 6 o'clock?
6 o'clock. Yeah. It was literally one of the last items.
Yeah.
It's it's the last
basically thing. We're there for 9 hours, which is a really long time.
It's a long time.
Yeah. I was proud of us though for sticking it out.
I'm glad there was a snack bar there that helped.
And I think, to be fair, having stayed that long, we got a lot of stuff that we wouldn't have gotten because we were waiting around and, we might as well participate.
Well, we were waiting around, and also you kind of outweight people,
right.
Where you're like, oh, all the people I was bidding against 2 hours ago got tired and went home, right. Which was normally me, but... And
so we spent $1,500 at this auction.
Yeah.
Which isn't something we haven't done before.
Right.
But to be clear, about $600 of that was on art and furniture that we may use for our rentals. So we really spent about $900 for
general merchandise,
pure eBay sales.
Wow, $900!
I know, it seems like a lot, right?
It seems like a lot.
And then I was doing it. We haven't gone through everything yet, but I see we have about 200 items that will sell.
You counted a bunch of them.
And 200 counts like a set of teacups or something.
Right, that's an item. It's a listing.
So really, we're paid for something
$4
per item.
I mean, there's definitely some things that we paid up for.
Yep.
That you especially like to get into bidding wars.
I was going to self-admit that I'm the worst.
You got really mad at me because I had to shut you down for some of them because I was like, I'm not paying that much. You need to stop right now. And you got really mad. But I was like, I have a limit here. We have a limit.
To be fair. And I told you this.
Yeah.
I have, there have been times when you had a limit on something and I went over it and we bought it and we realized.
That was a good idea.
It was a really good idea.
Yeah. That's true.
And I will say, I don't know if we've ever really lost any money.
We haven't.
But I mean, obviously, we talk about it. The best times at an auction is when there's a pile of stuff.
Yeah.
No one wants it, and you get it for $2.
Which happened a bunch at this auction.
Right.
And it happened for me too.
And we definitely got some of those. But
yeah.
I can't help it when sometimes there's something really cool or a smaller box of something and several people
are eyeing it.
And I might buy it for $40.
Right.
But I'm looking at it and I'm like, I see $40 on one
item, yeah.
I can sell the whole thing for $300. So
I was proud of myself because number one, I went to an auction because I generally do not love auctions because they exhaust me. Number two, so we split up. This is one of these auctions where they have this huge room of box lots that takes hours. And then they start on this other room and there's stuff in there we want. So you're like, I'm going to that room. I'll keep an eye on it. So I was actually buying things. I was eyeing the things I wanted, going head to head with some people, or just being like, oh, nobody wants that? That's the box that looks interesting to me. I'll take it.
I'm so proud of you.
I'll pay $3 for that thing. Why not?
Now, was there any box that you paid more than $3?
There was So there was a tray. We went through it last night. It was a tray of 3 different patterns of teacups with saucers. And I think I paid $17.50 for that.
That's
which
awesome.
Is a little much, but I'm also like, did I pay $17 for that? It was more than I wanted to pay, but I was just kind of like...
I paid $40 for those locks, those vintage locks.
Oh, those are amazing, though.
I feel I feel bad sometimes because I'm like, I'm spending a lot of money, but also I'm like, we're here...
to spend money.
That's
what we're there for.
It's not going to be a benefit to us if we hang out here
and buy nothing.
And buy 3
or not buy the stuff we think we can get a
Right.
lot of money for.
And so far, in all the years of doing this, we have almost always come home.
Yeah.
Because, it's kind of a blur. There's like,
Yeah.
here's a big box of stuff. Here's like a row of stuff. And, I see certain things I want. And then we come home and we're like, whoa, there's stuff in here.
I didn't even see. I didn't
don't
even
think
know it was
anyone knew it
here.
was here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that happened to me a few times, actually. Yeah, so it is fun when you're like, oh, I bid on this lot and there was something underneath this box that the guy just handed me I didn't know it was a part of, and that's actually the
Right.
best thing.
And we came home with a truck full of stuff.
The
like
truck
the
was
back of the truck.
completely filled.
So it was great. I do have a hypothesis, though. So
Yes.
we haven't been to a lot of auctions, so this is just, there isn't enough information yet to like actually have a theory here. But I feel like there were more people there,
Yeah.
and more people willing to spend cash.
Yeah.
And I think it's because the economy is getting better. I feel like it's actually making auctions more expensive, which I guess I didn't think that would be true. I thought as the economy got better, people with money would stay at home and just buy brand new stuff on Amazon. But
Right.
what I saw was there were a lot more just normal people there buying stuff for themselves.
Right. And they're willing to pay more for that.
Instead of just dealers.
Especially because you were in the room with it was a lot of furniture, and like a lot of it was antique furniture. So, I mean, antique and vintage. So yeah, I see people being like, oh, I want that for my
Right.
living room.
Like, I
and
could
you're
always
like,
tell
oh.
who the dealers were, and I could hear them talking about.
Yeah, you can hear
buying
it.
and
Yeah, you can tell.
and selling stuff. But there were a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like, we sat down next to a guy towards the end.
Yes.
He's probably in his early 60s or something, like a dapper kind of
Like
older gentleman.
probably retired.
Yeah, like he looked like a trim, clean-cut guy. But he'd been buying all day long.
Yeah.
And a lot of stuff that I had
Right.
wanted.
You were like bidding against him.
Yeah, we had bid
basically.
against each other. So I just assumed he
Sold, yeah.
And then I asked him, I was like, are you buying to sell? He's like, nope. I'm like,
He literally said this is classic. I'm a hoarder.
Yep.
And we were like, oh, haha. He's like, no, I'm serious.
I mean, he said it kind of tongue-in-cheek, but kind of in a way, like admitting, like telling on himself.
Yeah.
He said that his aunt just died and that she was a real hoarder, and it took them 4 days to sell the stuff at the edges just to get to the real stuff. He says that his basement is completely packed, and he's trying to keep it out of his home, but he says he can't stop himself. And I said, so, you just bought all this stuff, and what are you going to do,
Just going to put it in your basement?
He's like, I'm just going to put it in my basement.
That's so
like,
crazy.
He has no intention of selling it.
It's so hard because you're like, you're taking away from my merchandise.
I even joked, I was like, so basically,
Yeah.
we'll just wait till
You die.
and then all your stuff is going to be right here.
At this auction, probably.
And he's like, yeah,
Yep.
probably. But, but that makes it tough for those of us that are buying to sell because you're head to head against like these
Someone who
people.
does not
Yeah.
care. Like, he'll spend whatever.
Yeah,
And
I would have to go to a lot more auctions on a consistent basis to see if that hypothesis is true. If, there are more people going.
I definitely feel that way about this particular auction, and I've noticed it before, where it's almost like people are there for fun. It's a Friday. They're like, I just want to hang out and see.
Well, like, you
know what
were
I mean?
at the auction part where it was all glass and plates
Yeah.
and china. Were the people buying that more just collectors? Or?
I think they're collectors. There's this one guy that had a European accent I was telling you about, which is unusual for the area we were in. It wasn't like a city, super urban area. And he was buying all this crystal and china and glass. And I was just like, he must be selling this. But then again, it's like you said, you see this guy buying this stuff and you're like, if he's not a seller, then it was this guy and his wife, like you said, probably in his 50s, like very well dressed, obviously, probably driving a Range Rover or whatever. And you're just like, what are you buying? Are you literally just buying this for a shelf in your house? Maybe you could be.
Yeah.
But it's just interesting to see those people where you're like, this is not for me.
I mean, I can
you
definitely
know?
see how it can be addictive because
Oh, totally.
you're
It's
just
so
like,
cheap.
I want this. And
I mean, stuff is pretty
it's like you're
cheap.
gambling.
Yeah, yeah.
And you feel like, oh, someone's outbidding me, and I'll lose it.
Right.
I need to have
well,
this
there's that adrenaline where you're like basically a badass and you just put your hand up and you're like, nobody's getting this
Right.
from me. And we did that a few times with artwork. There was some very particular artwork that we were like, this is what we're always looking for. Vintage 1970s seriograph, like limited edition,
Right.
either to sell or to keep for the rentals or to keep for ourselves. Right. Like that is our style. And we were like, nobody's getting this.
And the cool thing is that the auctions we're going to, I mean, the buy-in price is not that high.
Yeah, it's not
like,
that high.
$100 is a lot of money to spend on one thing.
I think that was the most we spent on, per item. That was the highest we got for anything.
That's why,
100.
we probably spent $600 just on
artwork.
Because
Well, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, it was good. We have plenty now for our helper to take pictures of.
Oh, it's packed in there.
Down. But I keep telling myself I should go and make a list of everything we buy, and so I can see how much we actually sell it all for.
Oh yeah, like make a spreadsheet. Oh my god, like we have so much stuff going on that I'm like, yeah. I wish we could do that too.
Well, I think we're pretty good. I got a pretty good memory of when things sell.
When something sells, we always are like, remember we got it at that auction,
that's right.
and that's high end, So that's kind of why we went to the auction.
And we haven't finished going through everything. We always hope we find those things that will sell for like $500.
Or a lot of times she'll take photos and do a listing, and then I look it up then, and I'm like, whoa, I did not know this thing was as rare as it is.
So you hope that there's a couple things that pay for the whole lot.
Right.
Okay, Poshmark.
Yes.
People on the forum have really been getting into Poshmark. They've really been down on selling clothes on eBay, and they're like, let's try this other thing. Yeah. It's so easy. So we actually tried it, right?
Yeah, I think I listed 8 things on Poshmark because I got really tired of cross-listing.
Is it easy?
It's easy, but there's like different things. Like they only take square photos. So if you have a rectangular landscape or a portrait photo that's not square, they crop it. So you're like, that looks weird. There's no way to really change that. My problem is that I do everything through the phone app. So I have to download all my photos for each listing and then re-upload them.
Right.
Like it's a whole thing. Plus their titles are, I think, 53 characters and eBay's titles are 80 characters. So you have to go in and chop your, title down. And so it's a process. So I actually got really sick of it after 8 listings. I was like, I don't want to do this anymore.
On the positive side,
I did sell a pair of boots for $200.
Right. So it piqued our interest.
I was like, I actually sold it. However, Poshmark is obviously, people know this if you're on Poshmark. I've not been paid for that. Once the person receives it, so it got there on Friday, they have 3 days to either return it or accept it, or it's auto accepted after the 4th day, and then you get paid.
Is it a business days or just?
I don't know. It doesn't. I think it's 3 days because they're like.
And the other question we had was, okay, so we sold it for $200. Poshmark took $40, and they give you
a shipping label.
A label, and so I guess my question is, since I don't see the interface, is that $40 including the shipping label?
I looked at the breakdown and it didn't show me. It was like, we charge you $40.
So basically they take 20%. If it includes the label,
it must.
It might not be bad.
Well, but the problem with that is they didn't give me a breakdown and they sent the most expensive thing. Right. This person was in Los Angeles. That's on the other side of the country from us. And it was £5 and they sent a priority. Wow. I'm like, it makes sense because it gets there fast, so you get your money faster, but...
So that confuses me when people are like, oh, Poshmark is great because it's so much cheaper. I'm like...
Is it though?
20% doesn't really seem that cheap because, eBay
But they didn't show me the breakdown of the...
eBay's 10%, shipping. and then 3.5%.
Essentially, I'm paying for shipping.
Right.
So you have to factor that in with your prices.
So it's 13.5% for PayPal and eBay plus your shipping. Yeah.
I don't know how they pay, though. I think it's like a direct deposit.
Right. I mean, I'm just...
Oh, you're comparing it.
I'm just comparing it. People are saying it's cheaper.
Yeah.
And I'm not... I don't see it being cheaper.
That sounds the same to me.
So, I mean, it's cool. If we could sell high-end clothes on Poshmark all day long,
Right.
I'd be interested.
Well,
So
I think for me, I need to cross-post things are more expensive because then it's worth like $200 pair of boots.
Right.
Because then it's worth the time for me.
Right.
But, that was a great sale. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'll take that sale. Yeah, any day, But, yeah, the time it takes
We're definitely not complaining. It's curious, those people that are kind of going all into Poshmark, what is the actual breakdown of the fees?
Yeah.
Because if it's more than 13.5%, it's not better than PayPal.
Well, and if it's free shipping, essentially, I'm like, I don't understand that.
So this was the first time that happened in a while. We sold an item and we couldn't find it. This has not happened in a really long time.
Right, and I found out the reason, and this is a really annoying reason. So we looked in every bin this could possibly be in, and places it shouldn't be. And I looked at the pictures, I'm staring at it, and I'm like, this is a new with barcode item, new with tags, barcode item. There was a time when we took a lot of our new items and sent them into Amazon. And then we were like, we hate Amazon. We don't want to do this anymore. And it was so expensive to have stuff sent back that we liquidated it.
Yeah, we just said,
we actually paid them to liquidate it.
We were like, just keep it. And then it probably went into an auction lot and someone else bought it and sold it.
So that was the mystery solved, was we actually don't have this item, and I forgot to end it on eBay, which is a pain in the butt because I'm like, how many of these is this going to be true for?
Right.
Yeah,
and we can't, and that's the unfortunate thing, we can't really remember.
I can't believe that I wouldn't. Well, so part of the problem is we were doing what some sellers do, which was we'll just store it in Amazon, and if it sells on eBay, we'll just ship it via Amazon.
Right.
But I had no note to myself. Like, how would I know that was at Amazon? Like,
this is where I hear Troy right now, aka
I know.
He's like, well, if you had
a spreadsheet, if you had 6-bit,
if you have control over your whole inventory, that's something we need to look into. I think.
So I canceled it. Yeah, and refunded them.
So I think what I'm going to do is. We'll sign into Amazon because it still has a list of everything we did have.
It has all your inactive inventory, which is very helpful.
I could go and just choose 10 random things
and check our
store.
And
then just go and check and see if we...
Here's my hypothesis is that when we had 2 stores, I might have ended stuff in our main store and completely forgotten to end the stuff. Store. So then when we merged them, those things in the second store are like in the store. Yep. So,
but it happens.
Yeah.
So we just had to.
It was a small sale. It was $20.
Okay, I have a couple more things.
Did you talk about our numbers yet?
No, we're still talking about.
I thought we were like forgetting about our numbers here. Okay, eBay.
Okay. Question I have is when you have a subscription on eBay.
Yeah, store subscription.
They give you a promotional credit. Right.
For promoted listings.
Right. It's like, I think for an anchor store, it's like $30.
Right, which isn't very much.
Less.
Yeah.
My question is, does that credit get put on your account automatically, or do you have to like claim it?
No, I mean, I've never done anything. Okay. I've also never checked that I got the credit. Right. So... you have to check your invoice. You should be getting it automatically.
Because, if you sell an item for $10 and you have whatever 10%, that's $1. So are they giving you that $1 back because of the $30?
I think what happens is, looking at your invoice, your eBay breakdown, because they break down every single item, which is actually very helpful. At the beginning, there's like a breakdown where it's like, these are your final value fees total. These are your credits and discounts and promotions, X amount of dollars. So it should be in there. But you can see the break. Like, you can look further down in the invoice and be like, what were my promotions? I don't know what that is. And it should break it down. I am like so lazy about looking at that because I'm just like, what am I going to do? It is good. Honestly, it is good to look at your invoice because sometimes they'll be charging you for like the gallery fee, which is $1 per listing. Checked. Yeah, on like 10 listings. You're like, I'm paying $10 extra every month for the last 6 months. Yeah. I mean, you could, and then you call them and you say, you need to give me my money back for that because that's crazy. So.
Now, I will say with promoted listings, it is now available to people without stores.
Right.
So just if you're a random person listing on eBay. So basically, everything can be promoted
by everyone.
Anybody.
So it's so weird to me because I'm like, first of all, I think you should only have the ability to promote listings if you have a store subscription. Right. Because it gives you you're like, I pay more.
Sure.
I should have the advantage.
Right.
But if everything by everyone can be promoted, you're like, what's the point of promoted?
Yep.
I mean, you can argue that you can up the percentage of what you're willing to pay.
Yep.
It's just...
Yeah, I mean, so on the forum,
crazy.
So on the forum, people were going back and forth about if it's good or bad. I mean, it's a reality. To me, it just seems kind of like a blatant attempt by eBay. They're just trying to boost some short-term profit.
Yeah, get more fees.
Let's get another 5 to 7% off of every sale. I mean, to be fair, we do it. I
promoted listings
because really, I just feel like we have to keep up with, any extra edge because it is pretty competitive.
Well, look, I took off promoted listings and I was like, our sales are dropping. This was a few months ago. And I was like, okay, I took them off because I was like, I'm not paying extra.
But it could also come in a slow time. It's,
right,
it's
exactly.
hard to tell. What some people were saying was it's good to do promoted if you're in a really competitive...
Like clothing.
Topic, subject matter, because then yours gets put up higher in the search. If you have like a kind of a rare kind of item, there's only 100 things that are in the search anyway.
So it's a pretty short page.
And I've seen that where I've like searched for one of our things and our search and our item is pretty high up in the search. Right. And then, like, right under it...
is the regular item.
Is the same exact
You're
one.
like, why am I paying for
that's promoted.
Right,
so
exactly.
It's kind of a dumb system, but whatever. It's there you go.
Yep.
Welcome to eBay. The cost to ship have gone up on USPS. So, a Retro Treasures WV said, I was just shipping a toy which had a cost to me of $5.08
for shipping.
First class, 14 ounces. I noticed that the customer was charged $7.80.
Right.
Whoa,
that's high, right?
And they would have paid not as much if he had put it in parcel and shipped it that way. So, wow, is that true? I mean, that's crazy.
I look. I have seen on some items for 16 ounce. It doesn't. They changed it to a zone system. So if you're in the same zone, it's like pretty cheap. But if you're sending something like, 10 ounces from Virginia to California, it's not the same as from Virginia to Maryland. Like it's going to be much more.
So first class packages are zoned now, just like
priority or parcel or everything's zoned.
Right.
Which I don't love, but it's smart of them to do that. It costs more to ship from Virginia to California, even if it's 4 ounces.
And this has nothing to do with eBay. This is all the post office. This is the
post office.
But the good thing about eBay is they just automatically, they change their algorithm.
Right,
because we have calculated.
Yeah, so I didn't have to change anything.
For anyone that was shipping free, I'm sure that they're struggling to figure out what prices to put those.
It's really tough. And we had a customer this week who was obsessed with getting a cheaper shipping rate. Yeah. And she was like, this should fit in a flat rate envelope. I know it will. It it was literally a $4 difference, which is a lot, but it's not that much. She was obsessed. She kept messaging me. And this was, while we were away all day on Friday, and she's just messaging. And I was like, okay, I'll try. All I can do is try. It was a cutting board. I'm like, is this going to fit? I have no idea. This looks big and heavy. It fit in a flat rate.
Okay.
So I put padding around it, and I put it in a flat rate.
And did you send her the message?
No, okay. So this is the thing that kills me, right? This is like customer service issues. So I do all that. I immediately refund her because I'm like, she's going to see I bought a flat rate envelope and she's going to write me. And I was like, I refunded you. It was like $4.22. Didn't say thank you. She said nothing. I'm like, after all that, I went through all this trouble on a Saturday morning.
That at least will hopefully stop her from giving us bad feedback.
Yeah, exactly.
People. Okay, and then one final thing before our numbers. I know it's a lot. It's a 400 episode show.
Yeah, right.
Changing handling time with business policies.
Yes.
This happens from time to time.
Yes.
Someone will come on a forum and say, like, I'm going out of town. My
Right.
husband's sick. I've got to change my handling time.
Okay.
When I use bulk editing tool,
It doesn't work.
It doesn't work.
Right.
What's going on?
Right. So Jay needs to stop and let Ryan take over because he doesn't know about this as much as I do. So if you do not have business policies turned on, which I didn't have turned on for like 10 years or whatever, 8 years, you can use the bulk editor to change your handling time. If you have a ton of listings like we do, that sucks. It sucks to do it. So I turned business policies on because of all the wonderful people on the forum and the podcast that said, you got to use it. Now, the problem that this person was having is if say you have 4 different shipping policies, first class, priority, parcel, blah, 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 and you want to change the handling time on those, you just go into that business policy. If you have 2,000 listings in that business policy, they all get changed. You say 10 days handling time, whatever. Now, if there is some kind of issue that you're having where you're calling something over 16 ounces first class, don't know how that happens, but sometimes it does. It happens to me sometimes. You'll get an error. Say there are 500 listings with that issue. So out of the 2,000, 1,500 get changed. But then it kicks 500 out of that, and it just leaves it normal. It leaves it with a 1-day handling time. So you need to go in and you need to look at, you press a button, it's a link that's like, look at these listings, like these 500 listings that got kicked out of my change. Let me look at those and see what the error is. And you go into the bulk lister and you fix the shipping policy, I guess, to not be first class. If you're like, these are a pound and up, these should be with like parcel or priority. So that's the problem that person was having. They were having this issue where it was getting kicked out.
Right. So if you have policies, you have to do it a different way than just doing the bulk editing.
And in business policies, you'll get errors, and you need to check that, because there have been times where I'm like, okay, 5 business days, and then I look and there's like 100 that have some kind of weird issue, whether they have an active offer on them, you can't change anything, and it pushes them out. So once that offer expires, you can change it. Say, okay, go back to 5 business days. So you just have to keep an eye on that stuff.
I won't add anything else. I won't add anything else.
Let's move on.
Okay, gut reaction to the week. Real quick. Good or bad?
I think it was high because we sold a couple high dollar items that I remember. $2,400.
You would be not correct, but close. So we made $2,100.
Okay. No, that's pretty good.
Yeah, we have gotten out of we've had several weeks now where we were selling like 10 things a day. It felt great. We've still been having days where we do sell 10, but we've had days where we sell 3 things. So
or 10 low dollar items.
But we did sell some high dollar items that was nice.
Right.
So $2,100.
Not bad.
I'm happy with that. We sold 41 items.
Okay.
Things we sold, high dollar items, cool things we want to talk about. Fabric. We sold a big roll of vintage fabric for $350.
Yes.
We've had it for a long time.
I'm pretty sure it was going to someone in like South Korea.
Oh, really?
Yeah, because it was getting shipped to one of those like warehouse places on the West Coast. No, I'm sorry, it was Texas. It was one of those warehouse places in Texas, and then it gets shipped to the country.
Yeah.
Because you can tell when it's those. Yeah. It'll be like unit 1567.
I think that's the last roll. When it was a long time ago, we went to like it wasn't a thrift store. It was like a building supply place. Like
was that from there?
It was.
Oh, maybe
Maryland.
It was. Yeah,
and
yeah.
We had found on a shelf.
This
everything's
fabric.
like wood and furniture and plumbing stuff, and we found this small area where there's all this old fabric that I guess probably got taken out of and they were like,
we don't care.
We bought all these rolls for $5 each, and we've been selling them for
I mean, I've had this for a long time, so I was thrilled that sold.
And I remember we were checking out, and one of the ladies that worked there, I think she was the manager, she was like, where'd you get
this?
You're buying that for how much?
And we were like, it was on your shelf, and it was priced.
And she almost almost wanted to stop
She
sale.
did want to stop the sale.
And we were just like, well, it's for sale. And then we were like,
And
see
his
ya.
prices, we ran out so fast. Oh my God.
We sold a Danish modern stool for $240.
Yeah, it's like one of those stools that's like
It's like you kneel on it.
it's like a lumbar. Yeah, you like kneel on it and it makes you sit up straight. And it was cool because it was kind of foldable, so I like custom built this box. That sold for $250. It was best offer at $250. I think I had it $299, so that was fine.
We're like, yes.
I'll take $250.
We were at the
auction when it happened, yeah.
We sold an iron lamp for $300.
Yeah.
It's like an outdoor
sconce. We were going to use it at one of our rentals, but it was so big we kept hitting our head on it.
It's like handmade. It's really nice, but it's sold to someone in California.
Look, so I think I had it up for $5 something, and they did a best offer of $300. We've had this for like 6 years or something, 5 years. So we were like, yes, we'll take $300. And then this guy's address, I knew the neighborhood in LA, and I was like, this is a really high-end neighborhood, and his house is worth like $3.5 million. And I'm like, you just talked me down $200?
I'm sure other people do that.
You're
where
killing
if you
me here.
Sell an item, you'll Google a map of where they live, and you're like, this person lives in a...
The Zillow comes up and you're like, they just bought this house and it's $3.5 million. And you're like, I'm just like a kid trying to make a living over here, bro.
Rich people are smart.
That's why they're rich.
So they get rich. Okay, Scavenge of the week. Anything you want to... I think I'm going to reserve my Scavenge of the week till we actually go through our stuff. I mean,
obviously we went to an auction, so...
Because we didn't do any other scavenging.
Yeah, I did do... My mom was visiting this week.
We didn't...
And there was a snowstorm, so there was one day we could barely leave the house,
right.
so...
Yep, so it was a family week.
Yeah.
Okay, customer issues. We didn't really have any.
I mean, other than that lady, really... There was a couple returns that have happened because of fit, though, so it's just kind of...
Someone on the forum brought it... Oh, I think it was Troy. He was like, are some buyers just crazy? And his example was, someone just bought an item from me.
Yeah.
Paid.
Right.
Immediately sent him a message and said, cancel this, my account got hacked. And other people were like, yeah, this is weird, these things don't happen. Someone had been like, yeah, they said that their account got hacked and canceled it, and then they wanted to buy something else from me, I mean, especially if it's not like a big expensive electronic equipment.
Yeah, it's not like a brand new iPhone.
If someone hacks your account, they're not going to buy like...
They're like, a vintage, jam pot for $10. You're like, what?
And really, I think, it's a couple things. It's the internet. There are people at home who are drunk, who might have mental issues. Right. I don't know. Sometimes it's like the grandson gets their grandma's credit card and
eBay's
buys a paintball gun.
That happened to us before.
Right.
Yeah.
We had this week, a person make an offer on a hat higher than what we had it up for.
Yeah, it was like $50 higher. I was like, sure, I'll sell it to you for $50 more.
And then they just didn't pay. I mean, it's just...
Okay, so this is a good example because it was like a marijuana hat. It had like marijuana leaves on it. I'm like, this person's clearly stoned right now because they're offering me more.
It's like it makes sense in a moment, and then
they're
10 minutes later, they're like...
I gotta make sure I really get this item.
They're like, I'm high. So...
Well, automatic unpaid item, it's already gotten relisted automatically, so...
Yeah, and then the final thing, I think some people, especially if they buy overnight, in the moment of the night, it makes sense. And then when the daylight comes, they're like,
please cancel this.
I can't afford this.
That happened actually last week with some... Yeah. I don't remember what it was. They were like, please cancel this item right now. Right. They're like, okay.
Yeah. And then
they already paid and everything.
And then there's the famous, I'm in the hospital.
Oh my God. It's so funny when people
I just had a heart attack. You're like, okay. Why are you emailing
Why are you messaging me through your app? Like, it's so funny when people are like, they'll message you this long message. I can't pay because I'm traveling. And you're like, just pay over your phone. If you're messaging me on your phone, you can pay me that way too. It's so weird. People are so weird.
You're like, whatever. So I think we do like a lot of people we're talking about on the forums. Some people will cancel it, or if they open up an official cancellation, we'll do it. But if someone's like, I'm in the hospital, I'm not going to pay. We're like, okay, whatever.
Unpaid item.
Like,
you were well enough to make the offer 5 minutes ago or whatever.
Okay, things we learned in the forum. Well, this was in the forum was on a YouTube. Might be Sherwood said our podcast where we went over our manifesto.
Yeah, last week.
He was like, one thing we should add that we absolutely do,
which I forgot.
Charge the collector's price for anything that might have collector's appeal.
Right.
That's a really good point. That's a big cornerstone of our business.
Price high with make offer. But in particular, I'm not going to price super high on like a men's dress shirt from the 90s, right? Unless it's a Ralph Lauren polo. But, you want... My mom always makes fun of me because I put things up really high. And sometimes I'm like, okay, that was too high. And she follows
our store and she'll text us like, you just listed that for $1,000.
Yeah, or whatever. But, there are things like artwork, furniture... certain things that you find that you're like, there's one other of these that have ever sold that I can see, and or in the last few months. So I'm going to price it high because nobody else has this.
80% of the things we bought on Friday at the are things that will be sold to people who are
collectors.
Yeah, and so that's why we can charge more because it's a special item.
Yeah.
We're following a seller who has some really cool stuff, and we saw he got like a big thing of like old gum. Yeah. Like gum in the packages. Some of it's like from the 70s. Some of it's from like the
early 1900s.
Like it's got the wrapper. It has
the gum in it. Obviously, you're not going to eat it.
He sold one of these pristine packages from probably like the early 1900s for like $500.
Yep. Was it that much?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I mean,
but so it was interesting because we were looking over this seller, and we were like, we were like that. A normal regular person on the street is like, what? But we know that is a piece of history. It's a piece of like candy history. It's a piece of graphic design history. Right. It's maybe a piece of history from the town where that was manufactured. Sure.
Also,
there's all these
imagine
things.
all the things that had to have gone right
for that to be in that guy's hands
in 1910 to buy it at a store and to protect it and to protect it for probably 3 generations without it being torn or bugs getting to it or stained. It's like it's just also just someone's buying the fact of it's in such good shape. Right. So definitely charge the price for those kind of people. Right. Okay. And we just want to say that if you do want to join our forum, which we encourage you to, scavengerlife.com/forum, we are in no spam zone. So we have kind of all the filters on real high. Yes. So if you want to join, go ahead and join and then email us. Right. With the name you joined with. Right. And then we'll approve you. Yes. Because, spam is the killer for any forum. And a lot of people, there have been a couple of people that have said, oh, your spam filters are up way too high. But the thing is, I'll get sometimes 50 requests from spam bots a day to get into the forum. So I'm like, I have to just deny everyone if no one's written to me. Yeah. So, okay, let's take phone calls or voicemail messages that you've emailed us. You can email us an audio file from your phone. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com, or you can call our voicemail anytime. The phone number is 540-407-8486.
Hi, my name is Anne-Marie, and I've been listening to you guys for a few months now, but I've always been a frugal spender, scavenger life kind of gal, and just started reselling the last 7 months or so. So I just had 2 questions. The first one is, what is the easiest way to find your net or gross sales without shipping costs on eBay? I find it really weird that all the numbers that they provide you on the overview sites include shipping amounts. So I was wondering how you guys figure that out, if there's an easy way on there. The second thing is, you guys spend a lot of time and energy into decorating and furnishing your rentals, and it shows. And so I was wondering, has anyone staying in those rentals asked you if they could buy an item and take it off your hands right then and there? I was just thinking that would be a really cool opportunity to kind of have a brick and mortar shop for the scavenge stuff that you guys find, but it also may be way more work for you because you'd have to be replacing items way more often. So those are my 2 questions. Thanks again for all your awesome content that you guys put out. Happy scavenging.
Okay, so number 1, how to find your actual gross sales without the shipping involved. What I do is you go to a seller hub, that front page. You go to orders. You go to all orders. And I live on this page, and then I go to period and I set it down to current week. And then if you scroll down on that page, on that search page, you see quantity. It tells you how many items got sold that week. It tells you sales price and it tells you total price. So the sales price is the total amount of what we sold. The total price is the total amount of what we sold plus the shipping. So like this past week that we're talking about now, our total sales price was $2,066.44. Our total price was $2,552.41. So it was like
that has shipping.
$500 in shipping fees.
Now, one of those items was over $100 of shipping because it's a huge lamp, cast iron lamp.
But PayPal tells the IRS, and the IRS says, well, we need you to pay taxes on the $2,552.
Right.
Then you have to go and figure out the expenses.
Say, hey, that was $500 of shipping.
And prove to us the expenses that you spent $500 to ship.
Yeah.
Then the other question was, in our rentals, we like to buy nice things to make people feel good to be in our places.
Right.
We've had other suggestions as well, to put up artwork and
put price tags
and put price tags on it, or put a note somewhere that says everything in the house is for sale. Just give us a price. I personally think that's tacky.
We've been to B&Bs where that's the case. They'll have little tags on the chairs and stuff, and I'm just I just thought it was really tacky.
I don't really want people to stay in a place where kind of they can buy anything. I know it's kind of cool. We have had people say hey, I love this couch.
Where'd you get it?
And we'll tell them it's IKEA, a certain brand that that isn't made anymore, but on Craigslist. Also, we put a lot of stuff in our house that I think fits well, and
we've curated it.
I mean, I guess unless someone says I'll give you $10,000 for it, I don't really want to sell it.
Now, I do have some pieces in some parts of our houses that I have for sale on eBay. There's a couple of paintings that I have up that I'm this looks cool here, and I'm going to put a really high price on eBay. So if someone buys it, I'll be forced to replace it on this wall, but I'll be happy with the sale price, so that's okay.
But the people who are staying don't know that it's for sale.
Unless they search for it.
Again, it's not bad or good, it's just our choice.
Yeah.
I wanted to make an observation about the mail people that you were talking about, the mailman that you were talking about on the podcast. 99.9% of our letter carriers are nice and they go out of the way to help you. But there's always got to be that 0.1% that don't want to do anything for you. And it sounds like, from what the gentleman said, he has one of them. We had one, too, and we were so glad when he left. He was a real smart aleck. But I just wanted to add that observation. Most of them will pick up anything for you, even if you don't have mail coming. And if I want something picked up, all I have to do is call them or just leave them a note on my door. So that was my observation for the week. Have a good week. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah.
If you have a mail carrier that doesn't seem very friendly, I think it's
rare.
It's the exception, and it's really unfortunate, and I feel bad. I would just say call your mail post office and talk to a manager. But, we're the same way where we don't even need to tell the post office we have packages.
I just put my flag up on my...
She just knows to check,
Yeah. If we're out of town for some time, a week or so, I will do an online request just so she knows, okay, they're back. Like she sees it that morning, like I got to get ready to get this stuff. But other than that, I don't do the online things. I don't call. I don't even leave a note. I just put the flag up and she knows there's something on the porch, or wherever.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's rare. I remember in the beginning when we first started this, we had a kind of cranky person and I actually didn't like dealing with her. So I just started driving it to the post office myself. I was like, I'll get it by the end of the day and it gets scanned and it's good and they're happy. And
that was my job.
That was your job. Yeah. And they were right down the street. Like they were so close to us. So it was not a big deal. But right now we live 5 miles from town. So that would not be a fun thing to do. But yeah, I agree. It's rare. Okay, that is it for the podcast this week. You can check out our blog at scavengerlife.com for the links we discuss and to join the conversation on the forum. You can call our voicemail line and leave a comment or a question. The phone number again is 540-407-8486, or you can email us an audio file from your phone. Our email is thescavengerlife@gmail.com. On Wednesday, we post a What Sells video, currently being brought to you by Stephen Schultz. You can subscribe to our Patreon account to help support us for as little as $5 a month. You can subscribe to us for free through iTunes or YouTube, so you always get the latest episode. We are ending this podcast in 3, 2, 1.
Goodbye.
It's free real estate.
It's free real estate.